call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee of the Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority. It's Wednesday, May 12th, a little after 10 a.m. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. What about the minutes from the March 10th meeting? Any comments or a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you. Next item, matters referred from the Board of Directors. I see that there are none, but I will just ask real quickly of staff. Leroy, Roz, anything in item number 4?
No, sir.
None for me at this time, no.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So then we'll move on to item number 5, which is an update from Roz on monthly financials.
All righty, beginning on page 22, we discussed the financial highlights for the month of March. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I start out discussing our position, net income or net loss. For the month of March, we ended at a deficit of $1.8 million for the month. Our total revenues are $2.3 million. Again, that's against 9/12 of our budget, roughly 3/4 of our budget. Total expenses, $3.74 million. So again, representing we paid out more than we brought in. Year-to-date paid to our contract operator, RATP Dev, is a little over $8 million. Keep in mind that we still have a standstill agreement with them going through, I think, July 31st. So the next payment to be made to them will be April. So this amount that you see here is the same as it was in February because we did not make a payment in March as of yet. Professional contract services, the ones that a few expenses that you guys wanted pulled out, made to our professional contract services, marketing, and security, outlined below. Below that, our total penny collections. So far, we've collected a little over $134 million of the $300 million promised to us. That leaves us a balance roughly $166 million. I've listed here below the amounts we received and what month. I billed them out in April for our next payment, which will be about $5.2 million as well. If you go to the next page, the bottom of that page lists out the amounts in our cash account. Wells Fargo, currently we have $8.2 million. Again, it's that high because we did get a payment in from Richland County, and since we have to hold, are going to pay RATP Dev soon, I leave that account kind of high with the rush of what's going on, with the anticipation of what we're going to pay out. Optus Bank, being one of the new banks that we secure with our new RFP, their balance is a little over $6.5 million. Again, our local government investment pool cumulative is 17.1. We're in the process of changing our bank over from our operating account from Wells Fargo to Security Federal Bank, and we anticipate that happening around June. Any questions?
Yes, I have one.
Dr. Morris.
Yes, sir.
On page 18, or the heading says Financial Highlights Fiscal Year 2021, month ending March the 2021. At the bottom of that page, total collections of penny revenue since 2013 to present. Now, I notice you have here August, at the bottom, August 2021 and November 2021. How is that possible?
It should be 2020. Nice catch. I just want to see if you were actually paying attention. They both should be 2020.
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you. Okay.
You get a gold star.
All right. I have several more questions. I'll see whether or not you can answer these. I'm just joking.
I'm ready. Let's go. All right. Any other questions?
I have a quick one, Roz, to make sure I understand. I think in your summary, you say that we've paid the contract operator just over 8 million. But
Yes.
then in the expenses on the next page, let's see, it says under contract operator 13.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference
So-
there?
So what we paid is actually different than what we recorded.
Okay, so that's
so-
just accrual versus cash.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we just got their February billing, so we still placed in the accrual because we know it's at least a little over $1 million each month.
Okay, gotcha. All right, any other questions for Roz? Okay. Move on to the next item, which is report on DBE status from Dr. Prince.
Good morning.
Morning.
There's information about DBE tracking on page 40 of your packet, and it's item number 6. And this is reflective as of April, it's from July 1st, 2020 up through April 2021. Currently, we have 23 vendors that we are tracking for DBE utilization. If you notice there's the column that says DBEs paid to date. There are some DBEs that are at 100%, and if it shows 100%, I'm sorry, that's in the column that says M/DBE requirement. If it shows 100%, that means that we are paying a DBE directly on the comment. And also on the percentage of goal achieved, if there are some that still show 0%, I'm still coordinating with those vendors, and also there have been 3. They have indicated they have made payments to DBEs, but I haven't received the information yet. But one of these, I guess, of the 3, I did receive the information, but it was after I printed this report, so it'll be reflected in the next report. Also, it shows that we have paid approximately $14.3 million to vendors, and of this amount, 4.6 went to DBEs, which is about 32.5%. And also, I just want to highlight RATP-DEB. It shows that the percentage of goal achieved is 30%, and that's because, as Robin stated earlier, we have only paid them $8 million, and they have paid DBEs beyond the time frame that we have paid them. So this number will change once we make another payment to RATP-DEB. So based on the data that's reflected, if you take the $4.6 million that we have paid, that DBEs have been paid, in comparison to the $14.3 million that we have paid to vendors, it's approximately 32.5%. And this number will continue to change on a monthly basis. This ends my report unless there are questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Prince. Questions? So Dr. Prince, if I understand you correctly, on the RAPDEV in time, that actual percentage will come down because once we work through the standstill agreement, you know, they're continuing to pay their subcontractors as they normally would, but they're not receiving as much from us as they normally would because of the standstill agreement, right?
Yes. And as
So
Robin stated earlier, we had only paid them about a little over $8 million, even
Right.
though there's probably more expenses that we will be paying them soon. But even though we're not paying them, they're still going ahead and paying the DBE.
Right. So it's going to be a while before we know a true DBE percentage number for them.
That's correct. Because it would depend on when we pay. If we have any payments that we are holding, then that's going to impact the percentage of the goal achieved.
Right. All right. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I will move on to the next item, which is a discussion of the next fiscal year budget. And as I understand it, we will need to make a recommendation to the full board out of this meeting on this item.
Correct.
All right, so please proceed. I guess, Roz, are you presenting this?
Yes, sir. So, as Angie alluded or stated, I'm here to present our propose to you our fiscal year budget for next year, 2022. It's outlined in the remaining pages of your packet. So hopefully, I know Dr. Morris had a time to review, so hopefully you guys had time to review it, to come with any questions. So, because my thought is not to have to repeat it all to you, just to summarize what's in the letter to you. So, the increase from fiscal year 2021 to 2022, approximately 2.37 million or 5.38% for revenue, an increase of 3.13 million in expenses or 7.24%. And all that's outlined and commented in the pages following. So as Andy said, I'm just here to recommend, or ask you guys to recommend approval to the entire board. So are there any specific questions on any of the line items that I could address to you guys?
Any questions for Roz?
Andy, I would like to point out one change with Lexington County. We have reduced their line item by $42,500 because the city of West Columbia chose to not do funding. So right now I reduced it in hopes that Lexington County will pick it up. But as it states, Lexington County, we're only asking, I forget the amount, I'm sorry, $172,000. So we're typically, they in the past have not, each municipality paid their own, and West Columbia decided not to contribute any funding. So hopefully Lexington County will pick that up, but we won't know until next week.
But that's reflected in this budget, or will there be an adjustment?
I need to do an adjustment. I didn't find out till yesterday that they were not going to do this, and again, say we won't meet with Lexington County until next week. All
right, so in theory, we could make a recommendation on this budget with that particular amendment.
Yes, like I say, the amount is $42,500.
Okay. So Roz, I was just trying to think of big picture changes year over year, and the things that I identified, I just want to confirm with you, and maybe it's a discussion point for the committee. We're obviously reinstating passenger fare, so that's going up. University services is increasing somewhat, and if I understand correctly, there's a reallocation or the federal funds. There's no longer the CARES Act, so that's sort of going away, but replacing it is the ARA Act, correct?
Yeah, CRISA and ARA, yes.
Yep. So it looks to me like federal funds for this year are actually increasing overall. Do we know, I guess, are those eligible for operating expenses?
The ones that are eligible for operating expenses, or I labeled it, it should be in here as operating, but let me just make sure. Yeah, if you look down, my page number's at the top, but there's a line item that says federal revenue operating assistance, and it's a little over $1 million.
Okay. So what is the ARA funding? What are the strings attached to that? It says operations there on your
ARA. Michelle will be a better person to answer that question, and she's out sick today.
Okay.
But if you give me a chance.
Yeah, I would just be prepared to discuss that a little bit next at the board meeting, because if that's not truly operating, then I think we've got to structural problem with the budget. So I want to make sure that we're
Okay,
prepared to.
I will, yes. I will get an answer from her today and respond to you guys, letting you know what's in it, and be prepared to talk about it at board meeting.
Okay. And so then the other things that I noticed sort of on the expense side, it looks like we're adding a position, IT, correct? And so that's increasing our
Correct.
salaries and compensation. And
Right now,
then,
we're outsourcing, I guess, in a manner of speaking, of vendors for our IT. So we're wanting to bring someone in-house as well.
okay. All right. Those are the,
Chair,
yes, Mr. Morris.
to you to Ms. Andrews, it seems to me that we are anticipating much less federal funds next year. Is that correct?
What's my, so you're saying we're anticipating less funds? No, sir.
Federal funds,
No,
federal
sir. It's kinda-
revenues.
If you net them all together, you're still anticipating around a little bit more, not a whole lot, but around the same as we would have in the past.
Okay, how about the CARES fund?
As Andy mentioned, the CARES Act funding was going away, because it was split over the previous 2 fiscal years, and it's replaced with the R.
The American Recovery
Okay.
Act,
Yes.
ARA. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So basically, Dr. Morris, it's kind of a reallocation. We show it by the act that the funding flows from. So you see that the CARES Act sort of goes away down to $500,000, but the American Recovery Act funding goes from 0 to 8.3 million.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Hey, Roz, this is Chris. How you doing? I got a few questions for you. So on page 47, the natural gas versus electric from 21 to 22, I see that they increased. Why is that exactly? Are we incorporating or taking into consideration a hydrogen or electric buses?
That's fine. You said natural gas?
Yeah. So on the line item for natural gas and then for electrical or for electric.
That natural gas is not the bus system, it's what we use here. That's like the gas bill for your home. That's what that natural gas is.
Okay,
And of
got it.
course, okay.
Okay, and then down, I think it's page 48, under attachment A for security. What are the what's the budget for 21 versus 22? I'm assuming obviously this is the proposed budget for 22, but what are our numbers for 21 exactly as it relates to security?
Security, give me
And that
one
may be
second.
page 49 instead of 40.
So if you look back at, and I'm sorry, my pages are not numbered, so if you look in the budget for the line item labeled security.
Okay, I didn't see it. Let me scroll back.
Hold on.
It's going to be under professional contract services, right, Roz? So if you look on page 46,
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry.
Now, so look on the income, well, I'm looking in the budget, but if you look, I'm trying to find it in the budget so I can guide you straight to it. Give me a second. So, current fiscal year is 980,830.
okay. So we're expecting,
Page 40,
I'm sorry, go ahead. What page was that?
look at page 46. The budget does a comparison from current fiscal year to from next fiscal year. So in FY '21, the budget is 980, and we're asking for an increase of about 10%.
Okay. And where's that come from exactly? What do we anticipate increasing?
So in some of the contracts, if you look at attachment A, you'll see down there the CPI increase is kind of a tentative hold spot, just
Okay.
in case CPI index does go up, we are budgeted for it, but if it does not, like I say, it never goes up over 10%. But in some of these contracts, I know that's usually where they would try to budget about a 10% increase. So it's not to say that we're guaranteed to hit that 10%. It's a worst case scenario.
Okay, a holder.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you think 10% is too high, I can adjust that down to about 7%. 7% is usually our rule of thumb in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the placeholder theory and method, and I'll get with my counterparts later. I just think that we need to reevaluate our security bill, but that's for another day.
I agree.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? for
Hey,
Roz?
Andy, I had a question, and it was also on the security as well. Is it now that we're having a security officer on every bus? Is that what it is now? Or is this only security at Comet Central and at the Lucius Road location?
It's both. It's all of the above. Security at both facilities and on the buses.
And I thought we stuck them on the buses because of COVID, right? Is that the reason?
Mr. Green, this is Leroy Champs. We were having them ride routes periodically even before COVID, and we did have a time during COVID where they didn't ride, but what they would do is like trail the buses or, from that standpoint. But we had security riding just different routes at different times, and it continued through COVID. But like I said, mostly in a lot of situations, instead of getting on, they would, do a trail check on the bus, making them aware of that.
So the security wasn't because of COVID; it was what we were already doing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought I understood that we put some extra security because of COVID. But okay.
Now, we did have at times, normally, if we have situations come up where we're having issues at certain stops or certain super stops, we may ask for additional security there. We did do that out at Harveston, and there may be one or two others, but we did do that over the course of the past year.
So you're saying that we're seeing some extra problems on the Harveston super stop then?
Yes, sir. Basically, and quite naturally, when we went fare free, we noticed, some additional activities at different stops that came in from the operators, from ridership, even, we were notified by some board members. So with those things that were brought to our attention, we put additional security at, like I said, at particular stops that were identified.
Right. So some of that might go away with us resuming the fares then. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We're hoping that some of that will go away, will die down.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, speaking of Mr. DeChamps, is that reflected in the new proposed budget?
What was it? I'm sorry.
Mr. Lawson, are you referring to security?
Yes, back still with security. A follow-up for my counterpart question just now. Mr. DeChamps, have we incorporated that, or is that figured into the proposed budget, the reduction of force, so to speak, post-COVID, or with us resuming fares?
I don't think as far as the budget, it had been factored in where we reduced that. I know Roz probably can talk to a little bit more detail, but I don't think we approached it that way going into this budget.
So the current budget, the proposed budget is taking us back to our current levels pre-COVID.
Okay, pre-COVID. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
through you to Ms. Andrews, I think when you were responding to Mr. Lawson's question, you said something about it's a 10%. The 22 budget, 21-22 budget is about 10% higher than the 2021. Could you reduce it to 7% as you alluded to? That,
I
and if you
can.
do, would that give us more money for our reserve account?
It could.
Well, I am always saying let's keep our budget as low as we possibly can, because in the near future we're going to have some difficulties if we don't build up this reserve account as much as we can.
And you're correct. That's even though the budget doesn't reflect it, for any savings that we do have and I can put into our reserve account, I do. And you're correct. If I do reduce, at least security and potentially the contract operator to about 7%, that would give us some, where you would see money that could go into our reserve account. So if that's
Thank
what
you.
you guys are suggesting, I will keep, reduce the CPI for security and or the contract operator to 7%. But security was the only one in question.
So to that point, Roz, I right now it seems we have two sort of fairly minor amendments to the budget as presented. The first one we mentioned, which is the West Columbia support going away. And the second is now this proposed reduction of the contingency or the CPI increase from 10% to 7% on security. Those, it seems to me, are roughly going to offset. So I just sort of note that in the context of this question of reserves, but I also note it that we have to put forward a balanced budget. So I would suggest that, you know, we grant whatever motion we make, we grant Roz the flexibility to ensure that the budget is balanced even after those two changes are made. So Roz may need to make a minor adjustment somewhere else. Is that correct, Roz? Am I thinking about that correctly?
Correct.
So however we frame that, I think you said that the West Columbia support number was in the 40s. This change from 10% to 7% is probably going to give us 30,000. So there's still a $10,000 difference that you're going to have to find and make up to balance the budget. So I would recommend that whatever we do as a committee, we grant some discretion to Roz to make that minor change.
And again, when I report to you guys on the where I say the ARA line item for operations, I can also let you know where I made those changes ahead of time before it's presented to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the 2022 proposed budget with minor changes as was discussed.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Roz, for putting that together and clearly articulating the year-over-year changes.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so back to the agenda. To understand it, there's no legal contractual personnel matters that need attention or may require executive session, correct?
Correct.
Anything else to come before the committee from committee members?
You all are awesome. That is the end of my report.
All right, well, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to commend, Mr. DeChamps, Dr. Prince, and Mrs. Andrews for, doing a wonderful job. Keep up the great work.
Hey, I'll
say-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the stability in this interim period. It's noted for sure.
Thanks for you guys' support.
Absolutely. Great job, guys.
Anybody gonna second Andy's motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
I will.
Or y'all can hang out with us.
You know, place.
All right, very good. So I think we're officially adjourned.
All right.